Welcome to Decide to Move podcast, where top experts share tips and strategies to grow you from where you currently are to where you are destined to be personally and professionally. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
So welcome to Decide to Move's podcast, and I'm super excited for my guest today. I have Dr. Aziz with me. He is the world's leading confidence expert. He teaches people how to learn confidence so that they can eliminate self-doubt, hesitation, and social anxiety, and master conversations. He also teaches how to accelerate in their careers and create deeply fulfilling relationships. He completed his doctoral training at Stanford and Palo Alto universities and is the founder of the Center for Social Confidence. He has a large online following with his podcast, Shrink of the Shy Guy, and YouTube videos, and is the author of 3 best-selling books, including his most popular book, Not Nice. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Aziz. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad too. And before we really get deep diving into your conversation today, which is dealing with double your confidence, double your business, I want to know, how did you come up with the idea of Not Nice?
So Not Nice started with myself and then progressively with clients. But basically, most people, when they hear the word nice, they might think that's a good thing. In fact, when I was starting to think about this book and the title for it, I remember I was in the kitchen of my house and my wife was there and one of our friends was there. And I said, I want to ask you guys a question. If I say the word nice, like, so-and-so is nice, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And my friend was like, I think that's a good thing. And I said, what about you, Candace? My wife, she's like, well, I used to think that. And then through a lot of the conversations we've had, I realized that actually might mean that they're not fully authentic. And that's really the core of this book. And so I spent many years with a lot of social anxiety. That's why I'm so passionate about confidence in all areas of life. And then I spent many more years, I was able to talk to people. I was able to have conversations. I didn't look overly shy, but I was running a nice person pattern. And when people think of niceness, there's often a lot of being polite, not saying things that hurt other people's feelings, avoiding subjects. And basically what it comes down to is a lot of inauthenticity, avoidance of maybe saying what's true, saying yes when we need to say no, not saying what we really think or feel because we don't want anyone to be upset with us. Mm-hmm. And so there's this big people-pleasing element to niceness. And so hence the title, Not Nice, which is really capturing that, when people say like, be nice and just be nice. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a play on that stuff to be not nice is almost sounds like a bad thing, but the idea is that it's actually one of the most liberating things we can do.
Yeah, it is. And I actually teach my clients the exact same thing because it's kind of like people walk over you when you're super nice. And people, to me, it's important for people to learn boundaries. It's kind of like I'm being nice to myself, meaning I'm putting myself like first so that you won't hurt me. And I'm not saying self in a you're putting yourself first in a negative way, because people often think when you're putting yourself first, you're being selfish. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so there's being selfish, an interesting term. I talk about in the book that it's not you're either selfish or you're not. It's actually more of a spectrum. And
yes.
Someone could be extreme, like I just got to get mine. I don't care about anybody. That's the high on the selfish spectrum. Mm-hmm. And then you might think, well, that's bad. So the less of that, the better. But actually, you can go too far the other way. And that's what I call self-invalidating, or it's like, it doesn't matter what I want. Who cares about me? Whatever everyone else wants, I'll just be that for them. And that's actually not a healthy form of, spiritual selflessness or something. That's actually a recipe for not getting what you need or want in life, not having healthy relationships, burnout, overcommitment, physical pain and sicknesses. So what we want to do is we want to move up the spectrum to a more healthy range. I call it healthy self-interest, where you like what you want matters and what I want matters. Let's talk about it and see how we can both find ways to meet what we want or meet our needs. And a lot of people that have been too nice for too long, which I know very well, our sensors of what's too selfish are not calibrated very well. It's like even a little bit of asking for what you want, or a little bit of putting yourself first sometimes, which is necessary in relationships, feels horrible. It's like, oh my God, I'm the most selfish person in the world. It's so bad. And so I always remind people, it's like, actually, it seems awful, but you're just moving up to a more healthy realm. And if you stay there and practice that enough, it'll start to feel normal and healthy to you too.
Yeah. And how does boundaries play into that?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's oftentimes people that when we're excessively nice, will label healthy boundaries as selfish. So for example, someone's like, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z for me, and you don't want to do X, Y, and Z. You can say, I'm not available to do that, or that doesn't work for me, or I'm sorry, I can't do that, or whatever. That might seem selfish. Like, how dare I not do what they want me to do? But actually, that was you taking care of yourself. That was you asking what I call not nice, the MVP question, the essential question, which is, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
And we've been disconnected from ourselves for so long that we don't even know. It's like, I don't know what I want. What do you want? What do you want? Because then I'll know, I'll just do that. And that's how we approach relationships. That's how we can approach business. That's how we can approach team members, partners. I mean, there's a lot of pitfalls with that approach, because then you end up spreading yourself really thin, not getting what you want. And then here's the kicker. We feel resentment then, but we're nice. So I can't be angry. I can't resentful. So we just stuff it all down and we put a smile on our face, and then we start to just burn up inside. And that's where a lot of people that I work with are at that point where they've just been running that pattern for a decade or 2 decades or 4 decades. And they're just, I can't do this anymore. I have to be the opposite of nice. Not nice is not being a jerk. Not nice is being authentic, is being real.
Have you had people approach you and say that it is like, oh my gosh, you say that not nice. You're actually teaching people how to be jerks, or how to not, be authentic. You're teaching them to be a butthead, as they may call it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a comment that we'll get often in, a YouTube video about it, or in the book, there's either people love it or they hate it. There's no in between. It's like 5 stars or 1 star on Amazon and Audible stuff. So it's and the people that are like, saying this is awful. I mean, there's a couple things. One is, I don't know if they've really read the material to get the nuance about. There's actually a big focus in there on kindness and love and healthy relationships. And so it's anything but just like steamroll people and take what you want out of life. It's not that at all. But also, it pushes people's buttons, because their programming, the nice programming, is so strong that they can't even hear about this idea of a spectrum of selfishness. They're just like, no. It's this or it's bad. And it bumps up against people's worldview, and so they reject it.
Yeah, and also their own confidence, because people struggle with that. Whenever I'm teaching my clients how to step outside of that comfort zone, they literally, you can see the anxiety build up, and they're like, but if I say that, they won't like me. And I'm like, okay, and what's the worst that's going to happen? And they almost like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, it totally disrupts their whole process. It's like they feel like they're unraveling. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So just even watching that in session happen is just amazing to me, when I have people think outside of the box of what's going to happen if you tell a person no, or if you stand up for yourself and say, I don't feel comfortable doing that, or come up with a compromise. Like, I don't want to do that, but I'm willing to do this. They almost feel like, but what if they don't like me?
Yeah, and that fear, they might not like me, they might be temporarily upset with me, which our mind makes it like permanent and the end of everything. But the reality is, like, they might be temporarily upset with you. And we are so unwilling to face that or feel it, that we will settle and spend like just like a lower quality of life. We won't have a relationship that's meaningful or deep. We won't have better friendships. We won't grow in our careers or grow businesses. Like, we'll just opt out of life, all to avoid that like sweaty 10-minute conversation. And that's crazy. I get it, because I lived there for so many years. But now looking on the other side of it, I'm like, that's crazy that I spent those years doing that. And because what can open up on the other side of opening up your mind, thinking outside the box and taking that step, is everything you want. And to me, that's the best carrot. That's what we want to go for.
Yeah, you said that you've lived it. Can you tell a little bit about your story? Like, what made you decide to be the confidence expert?
Yeah, well, it started with, well, first it started with a core belief that I was broken in some way, that defective. I didn't use those words consciously. I wasn't walking around saying that to myself, but that's how I perceived the world. And I made a big separation between me and someone who was confident, or someone who was successful, or someone, you know, who was charming. Is like, well, it's a good thing they were born with that, but not me. And that's how I operated for many years. And then because of just a threshold moment, I call it, of pain, of like really living, you know, year after year of not having what I want, not being able to have relationships, and then seeing like my life ahead of me looking pretty dismal, something clicked, and it broke my denial, it broke my avoidance, it broke my, you know, I play a lot of video games and smoke a lot of pot, just like ways to kind of just cope. And it broke through all of that, pierced through all of that. And then it was like, it was like 2 parts desperation and 2 parts inspiration. It was 50-50, you know, but it was like, I got to do something about this. And something clicked where it was like, and that's where I'm so grateful, because I know some people have that, like, I'm going to do something about this, and then it fizzles. And I've been there on other things, but with this thing, it didn't fizzle. And it was like a flame got lit in me that has not stopped. And that was 17 years ago. Wow. And it was like, I am going to figure this out, and I'm going to study how to do this. And at that time, it was like, I want confidence to date. That was the main thing I was focused on. I was like, I need a girlfriend, you know? But it quickly expanded to like, oh wait, I need confidence to talk to people. I can't even talk in front of groups. I feel inferior around other men. Like, this isn't just a dating issue. This is a confidence issue. And so I became obsessed, and something clicked in me in that first 6 months of learning was like, oh my God, I can learn confidence. And that was just revolutionary. I mean, I knew I could learn math. I knew I could, you know, stuff you learn in school. I know, oh, okay, I can learn that. But I can learn confidence. I can learn social skills. I can learn how to be more charming and interesting. And this is the one that lit me up, that still lights me up the most. Like, I'm a huge fan of teaching people social skills and how to be more charming, and dating and relationship. But the thing that I love teaching people most is the skill of boldness. Like, you can train yourself to be more courageous, to be more bold. And that, you can probably see my body, like, that excites me, because that never ends for me, because there's always a next level of boldness for all of us. And so I love just like jumping into that. And it started back then, and my training has not stopped. And as I've, you know, grown, then I've taught different stages of the journey, and I continue to do that now.
Yeah, do you mind sharing like the beginning stages of boldness, how a person become bold if they have like no confidence, they don't want to stand up in front of someone, but they have to have that in order to do their job? Yeah.
You know, the beautiful thing is, it's the same at the very beginning as it is that I'm doing right now to get to the next level. And the funny thing is I know this. I've been teaching this stuff for many, many years. And just recently I was like, I need to up my game. I need to go back to the fundamentals. And here is the fundamental thing, is to shift your orientation towards that discomfort, from avoidance to approach. And if you can, and the best way to do this, I believe, is to have a commitment to do one thing a day that makes you uncomfortable, that scares you a little bit. Doesn't have to be crazy. But some days it just will be, because that's how life works, right? You have an opportunity or a challenge comes your way that is an opportunity, and you gotta face it. But other times, if you're actively looking for that thing every day, like, oh, I don't want to send that email to that person. What if they don't want to talk? You know, what if they want to interact with me? And it's not a huge thing. It's just a little thing. Send the email, and then check it off that day. I did it, and I promise you that after not even 2 weeks, but definitely after 30 days, you will feel radically different. You'll feel so much more powerful, so much more capable, so much more willing. In fact, things that used to trigger some fear will not. And so this is one of the core foundations I teach. And it's really just, well, where do you start? So if someone's really, they've lost their confidence, whether they felt like they never had it, or, they had a breakup or a divorce, or they got fired or something. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, then we want to start with that small daily action. And it might just be to walk down the street and say hi to 3 different people that day. Get you out of your head, get you out of your own stuff, and just like, oh, there's other humans out here. It might be saying, being a little bit more direct in what you're asking for with someone that you work with, or with a spouse or a family member. So find that's probably one of the key underpinnings, because everything else, all the mindset stuff, and owning your value and believing in yourself more and challenging your negative thinking and inner critic, that is all in service of us taking the action to grow. And so they work together. But I would say if there's one thing, it's the daily action. And I believe in that from the very beginning. And so just about 2 months ago, I restarted a tracking of daily courage action. So every single day, what is it? How scary was it on a scale of 1 to 10? And the cool thing is, it's not on any given day, it's not just one thing, it's 2 or 3 or 4. And so another way to think of that is not just do what scares you, it's the confidence strength training. It's the confidence gym. So get in there and do your reps every day.
Yeah, I like that. That is so true. One of the things, like when people talk about doing visible, we did something in our mastermind this weekend, and we got challenged to do a live with each alphabet every day with the alphabet. And just doing that, because like most times people are like, I don't know what to say, I'll sound stupid, people are not going to like what I have to say. But just doing those small little steps, like I'm going to come up with the word A. I'm going to talk about an apple today. Little small things that get you out of your comfort can help a person. Just after a while, it just becomes super easy and it doesn't even bother you anymore. So it's kind of like doing those exact same things. So I like that. Doing your reps. We all know that I need to do that.
And this is like, don't ask for it to be easier, ask for you to get stronger. And if you heard that quote, right? But it's like, that's what this is about. Because we're like, it should be easier to date. The online apps aren't working. It's so hard to meet people. Everyone's in their phones now. It's so hard. It should be easier to grow this business. Working with people is hard and online is hard. And we have this like weakness, it's like, we're not, the lack of strength. It's like, and it's not because we're weak, it's because we're underdeveloped in that muscle. And so we want to get stronger to say like, yes, here comes the challenge. I've been training for this moment. Bring it on. And then, so someone at the gym, they can lift the weight and it feels easier, but it's still a heavy weight. And that's the same thing. So then when something comes your way, you're stronger, you can just handle it so much better. And it's not even like, sometimes I work with a lot of clients on this and they're like, yeah, but when does it like that I feel no discomfort? When am I just completely comfortable doing that thing? I'm like, well, are you going to continue to grow? And they're like, yeah, well then I don't know if it ever gets like totally comfortable. That's the point. But you can get better at tolerating a certain amount of uncertainty and a certain amount of discomfort without imploding. And you get better and better at trusting in yourself and being on your own side and saying, you know what, I can do this, because you have a track record. It's not just an affirmation, it's a track record. And then, so you look more composed in your handling. You might be like, but you've and it's not fake. You're not just like pretending that you're confident. You've earned it through repetition. And the thing that's so beautiful is it doesn't have to be dramatic stuff. It's just like what you're saying, just for, do. And one of the things what you're saying, which I love, is the challenge in your mastermind wasn't go out and do a Facebook Live. It was go do 30 Facebook Lives, one a day, or whatever, one for the alphabet. So 26 letters in the alphabet. I am a doctor.
You're like, let me add 4 more.
Yeah, right, plus 4. Because when you're approaching this stuff, and I see this all the time with clients, they're like, okay, I understand. I've heard that before. I got to do it. all right, well, I'm going to go ask this one potential client, or I'm going to do this one potential joint venture. I'm going to do this one, Facebook Live, and I'm going to see how it goes. And if it goes the way I want, then I'll continue. And it's the worst mindset to go into it, because you're a beginner. You're just starting out. Like, and even if you're good at something, do you always get the result 100% of the time? So it's like, no, but when you say, I'm going to do this 30 days in a row, or 24 days in a row, or a month or 2 months in a row, all of a sudden now you're in the process and you're committed to doing it, and you're not so focused on each individual outcome. Was that comfortable or not? It's like, it doesn't matter. The action is what matters.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, I think we shared before on your podcast, how people look at likes and loves as a way of saying, is people paying attention? Is people reaching me? But so many times people may not comment or anything, but those people are following you because they're dealing with their own confidence. And if I say something, somebody's going to judge me, but people are picking up and listening to exactly what you have to say. So you never know how you may touch someone else and give them the same idea that I'm going to start off with talking about an apple or talking about a banana or whatever they want to talk about for each alphabet, and give them the confidence to do it themselves.
Yeah. And it's about, if people are sharing online, or you want to share about your, business or your mission or what you want to sell or what you want to do, like it's there needs to be a level of leadership and certainty there. Like, this is what I want to share, and this is why it matters, and this is why it's helpful, or this is why this product or service will help you. Like, there's not this sort of like, I'm going to share something. Does everybody like this? Is this okay? Because when we do that, we're very short-lived. It's not gonna last. And everything, we love the myth of the ultra success, the overnight success, it just happened. And it's like, it's not only is it not rare, it doesn't happen. There is nobody who goes from like no effort, no cultivating of themselves or their skill to like mega success. And yet we somehow are upset when that's not happening. And it's like, if you look at every story, there's like consistent years of effort and learning and failure and stuff before they have that meteoric breakthrough, or even just steady growth over time, for businesses and stuff. So I just feel like we want to get in it, and we want to stay in it.
Exactly. I've actually once heard a pastor say, don't be jealous of what another person has, because you don't know what they've been through to get what they have.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. It's all behind the scenes, there's the public facing side, and then there's like the private side. And yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah, most definitely. So you want to talk to us about double your confidence, double your business. Can you go into details and tell us how can someone do that? Because some people are just even trying to or working on getting a business. I do not like the word trying, because that means you're not really doing it. But how do they actually, one, double their confidence if they have none? And then how would that help their business?
Yeah, I think confidence is the key to starting a business and then skyrocketing and scaling that business. That's the underlying factor in this. Because the biggest obstacle is not resources. We'll say, I can't start the business, or I can't grow because I don't have the time for it. I don't have the money for it. I don't have the people for it. I don't have the whatever for it. But it's actually I don't have the confidence for it. What's happening is there's multiple parts inside all of us, but we have a part of us that wants to go do that thing. The part that, and that part has existed for our whole life since we were little kids. It's like, I want to ride that bike. I want to, eat that food. I know what I want. I want to do all this. I want to do anything I can. And then that part's still inside of us, but we have another part in there that is about keeping us safe. And its way to keep us safe is to avoid risks. It wants to keep us safe from like discomfort, pain, rejection, failure, loss of relationships, like, oh my gosh, financial fears. And it's like, oh man, that's all scary. So here's what we need to do. We need to play it safe. And that voice, you know, we all have heard is sort of like, that's the, get a stable job in a stable industry and just work that job until you die or till you retire. And that's safe. Although what you're probably realizing is that a lot of this is an illusion of safety. You're not really safer. In fact, you might be at much higher risk if you put all your career capital into one thing and one company and then they let you go. And then when you know, so it's like this illusion of safety. And on the other side, though, there's this part of us that's like, I want to do stuff. I want to flex my potential. I want to contribute something. I want to have an extraordinary quality of life. And so there's those two parts inside of us. And confidence is really about, are you living from that part, that alive, vibrant, what are you here to do part? Or are you being dampened and held back by the self-doubt? And if you're being dampened and held back by self-doubt, then that's why you haven't started the business. That's why your business is not growing or thriving or being successful. It's not those other people. It's not that the market sucks. It's not that any of the stuff. It's because I have been too uncomfortable to do what it takes. If we're willing to do whatever it takes, we can start a business. We can scale that business. And you might say, well, hold on a second, Aziz, because sometimes business ideas are bad. You know, it's not you can't just make everything grow. It's like, yeah, great. Well, then there's the confidence to step into the unknown to say, you know what? Maybe I need to shut this thing down and start something else. Or maybe I need to pivot. I mean, all those decisions and change and all that, what does that take? That takes courage. That takes confidence. Because at the end of the day, the one thing it takes to have success in business is to be willing to step into the unknown. Because how do you know? Like, is this marketing thing going to work? I don't know. All these people say it works. Let's test it out. It didn't work for us. Shoot, you know, like, or is this client going to want to pay me or hire me? I don't know. If we raise our fees here, is that going to work? Like, let's find out. And so you got to be willing to just be like, let's try that. Let's do it. Let's see again and again and again. And then you got to try, you know, let's test that out. Let's test out this, you know, Facebook ad agency. We did that last year. And it's like, did it work? Kinda. It was very expensive. You know, we spent a lot of money on that. Okay. Now, not only do we need to say, make the tough decision to conclude that, now we need to boldly go into something else. It's like love, right? You know, to be able to open your heart to somebody and then you get your heart broken. There's a part of you that's like, I'm never going to do that again. But in business, you got to have this like ultimate courage to be like, well, that failed. So we're going to try something else and do it wholeheartedly and study it and try it and trust myself to make decisions. I mean, it is, if this is not a confidence game business, I don't know what is.
Yeah, most definitely. And I see that so much where business owners don't want to start something, or like you were saying, or they say this failed and I'm not going to start again because of the fact that I've already failed one time, and their confidence gets shattered, but they don't have the ability, or they don't even exert the energy or learn how to be confident to get back up and say, okay, well, maybe that was not even the idea that was resonating with me. I should try something else. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, well, I mean, I get it. It's it is so uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It is so uncomfortable to be a beginner at something, to muck around, to have awkward conversations, to put your heart into something and have no one buy it or no one show up, or worse, people criticize it. I mean, it is vulnerable. And the thing that we need to keep coming back to is like, so sure, you're going to try something that's going to fail and it can hurt. What we want to come back to is that going to shut me down? Okay. For how long? Because just think about that. Imagine the person who really wants to find love and they're like, okay, I'm going to ask this person out. And then, oh my gosh, I love this person, but it turns out they didn't even like me that way. They were interested in someone else. Oh, I'm devastated. Okay, I'm shutting down now. Okay, that's natural human response. How long are you going to stay shut down? The rest of my life. You know, let's say they're 21 years old. So I'm never going to love again. I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to, it's like, wow, that's a wasted opportunity of a life. And yet we'll do the same thing in business, and people will settle in business much more than they will in other areas of life. It is so unfortunate, but they'll like, I tried that thing whatever, I'll just go back to doing this thing that I don't really like that much, but it's safe and I can do it. And man, I would just say, like, aren't you just satisfied with that? Don't you have that fire? And what we've got to do is we got to step out of the one and done mentality and step into the mastery mentality of like, if you want to start your own business and then you want to succeed in business, you got to study business and you got to learn about it. And I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't want to do. They're like, no, I'm an artist, I'm a technician, I'm really good at the coaching, I'm really good at the consulting, I'm really good at the building of this particular piece or this craft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good baker, whatever it is. I don't want to learn all that other stuff. And it's like, okay, great. That's like saying, I want to get places, but I don't want to learn how to drive. And it's like, okay, you can still get places, but it's harder and slower. And then you're asking people for rides, you're taking the bus, and it's like, yeah, your business is gonna maybe do okay up to a certain level for a certain period of time. But if you really want to thrive in this area, you got, just like if you want to thrive in your relationship, you got to study communication, you got to practice it, you got to learn how to do your own self-awareness so you're not just blaming your partner for everything. It's a constant process of growth. Same thing with business.
Feel that and that's good, I love that. Do you feel that a person has to be confident in every single area in their life, or do you think that it's okay for them to kind of be shortened in some places?
Well, whether it's okay or not, people can live however they want.
Mhm, right.
Personally, I consider confidence the master skill. It's the key that opens up every door. And so I am fascinated by confidence in all areas of life. Confidence, physical confidence, to be able to know. And this is after 20 years. I lived for 20 years with chronic pain. And then I discovered how to free myself of it. And then it turns out that it was none of the diagnoses I received, including autoimmune conditions and other things. It was actually a mind-body condition caused in most part by niceness. Crazy. But anyway, after having that many years of pain, physical confidence matters to me. And to be able to, so when I really started healing all that and got off all these meds and everything, I was like, I'm going to run. I ran a marathon. I'm going to do, it's like, how far can I take this thing? And so it's like, what physical confidence that I can rely on my body. I can know I'm not going to be in pain, and that I can take care of myself, and that I'm strong and vital and healthy. To me, that's super important. And I call it physical confidence. Then of course we want confidence in love and relationships. Like, who doesn't want to know how to do that and have a beautiful relationship in their life? We also want social confidence, to be able to talk to people, feel socially comfortable and capable, to be able to have better friendships, to be able to network and build those business relationships. And then we're talking about business confidence, obviously, whether it's business or career. People want to have their, work for other companies, but you need career confidence. And then I believe, we want spiritual confidence. We want to have a sense of belief, like having with faith, confidence that we're connected, that we're guided, whatever our beliefs are, that we're feeling them, it's not just like, oh yeah, I believe in that God, but it actually has no emotional impact on me whatsoever. Then we're lacking in spiritual confidence. So I'm juiced about all areas.
Same here. And I totally agree with you, because I know there's some people feel like I don't really need to be confident in that, long as I'm confident over here. But I am totally with you. I think we've talked several times about that, where for me, I had to learn confidence, and I exude it in every part of my life. And I'll have people say, I want to get what you have or be like you. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. They're like, well, you're just confident even when you're speaking about something. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm comfortable and confident in what I don't know. So if I don't know something, why be upset about it? It's like, I don't know it. So I'm okay with saying, can you teach me? Can you show me how to do that? And then I will learn and become confident in whatever it is that I don't know. So it's the same thing, just constantly being that teacher and the learner on a continuous basis.
Yeah, it's essential that we're always learning. There's always more to learn. And
Mm-hmm.
the more that we learn and implement what we learn, not just become a storehouse of unused ideas that we can spout out. Oh, I know all about that. But like actually act on what we're learning, because that's where we really learn and we really grow. Yeah, that is the pathway to getting everything that we want in the key areas of life that I mentioned. And that there's that learning takes a level of humbleness and a level of confidence to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about being in physical pain. Can you go into more details about that, how you just, it was discovered that it literally was like a mind body, kind of like from a confidence standpoint? Because
Yeah.
there's so many people out there that are being diagnosed with fibromyalgia or lupus or other things, when it really is like, it reminds me of Bessel van der Kolk when he talks about the body keeps the score, like the trauma, the things that you've been through in your life actually is the stuff that's impacting you, and not so much like actually anxiety or some of the other diagnoses that people are getting. Yeah,
man, this is a topic that I could probably talk about for 5 hours. Something I studied, read dozens of books around. It was a when there's like the social anxiety and the lack of confidence, it was like, this is what is wrong. This is how it is. I'm broken physically. End of story. Like, I got diagnoses to prove it, and nothing has worked. And I tried all kinds of things. I would try mainstream treatments and injections, and then physical therapy, and then I would try, massage and yoga and Egoscue stretching exercises. And there's a short list. Chinese medicine. I tried everything, and I was just like in constant pain. And then I got some more significant pharmaceutical medications, which would dampen the pain, but have potential side effects over time. So I lived in that world of like, I'm broken, until one day a friend of mine who's a massage therapist recommended this author named John Sarno. He's an MD. He's a was the Rusk Institute in New York. He's a medical doctor there. And basically, after working on people with back problems and other things for many, 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 many years, and seeing the treatments not working, said, we got to find a better way, and started to look at their personalities and what's going on with them, and basically discovered a way that people who had back pain for 20 years, who had all the MRIs and that would show a variety of physical structural issues that would had surgeries on and other things, he would work with them, and they would go through a series of lectures, talking, education, sometimes working with therapists, sometimes not, and their back pain would go away. And I was like, wait a minute, if there's nothing structurally wrong, even though you have a bulging disc or whatever, and there's all kinds of interesting studies that actually, when they do MRIs on healthy people who have no pain, there's the same rates of bulging discs and other things. It's like normal wear and tear on the spine that actually doesn't cause the pain. It's crazy. Anyway, I was reading this, my friend recommended this book. I looked through it and I was like, no, I have a real thing. That's not me. I have a real thing. And then 2 years later, maybe, something happened, and I came across that author again, John Sarno, and I was like, okay. And I started to listen to it, and I'll never forget where I was. I was driving home. I was a clinical supervisor supervising some psychology residents. And I was driving home from this place. It was about 45 minutes from my house, and I'm driving home, and I start listening to this book, and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is me. All of a sudden, that stuff I wasn't able to see before. Then it talked about, he called it a goodism personality, wanting to be good, wanting to be people pleasing, wanting to be liked. Nice guy. He talked about perfectionism, hard driving, never enough, always achieving more. I'm like, shit, that's me. So, and then it was like, okay, I'm ready to listen. And I was so ready to listen. I pulled my car over. There's this open space kind of marshland thing. And I walked around that marshland for 3 hours listening to that book. I just didn't want to go home. I was like, I don't want to go home and go back to my life. Like, I need to hear this. And I get like a chill in my body just realizing how powerful that moment. And then it was a journey, because to talk about the battle for belief, talk about doubt, talk about fear. I had been programmed to believe for 20 years that my body was physically damaged and broken. And you're telling me that it's not? Like, man, and look, I can feel my nerves on fire. Like, this is not in my head. Anyway, it was a big journey, and I read multiple books and actually worked with several coaches on it. And all the other side of it, was able to completely resolve all that pain. And now when pain arises, I'm like, Okay, what's going on? And just for people to understand, this is not like some strange vague pain. This is what you mentioned. Fibromyalgia is a mind-body disorder, as in it can be healed through that method. Um, the vast majority of back pain, except for like rare cases of like a tumor or something in your spine. And they always say like, get it checked out, make sure you don't have a weird tumor in your spine, which most people don't. Back pain, neck pain, shoulder freezing up, carpal tunnel syndrome, plantar fasciitis on your feet, a lot of foot problems, jaw problems, stomach issues. I mean, you name it, knee problems. Like, anyway, I'm a zealot. Obviously, you can tell about this subject.
That's great.
But if
I
people are
like it.
interested, check out Dr. John Sarno. Is a great place to start, as well as Think Away Your Pain by Dr. David Schechter. Think Away Your Pain. Those are great resources that I recommend. And anyone's even the least bit wondering, is that maybe me? Yeah, it probably is. And you could also check out a place called the Pain Cure Clinic. Those are the coaches that I worked with, Pain Cure Clinic, and they were phenomenal. They really helped me tip from like kind of getting better. You know this. People read books, they can improve, then they get coaching, and then boom, that's when life transforms.
Yeah, I received a call today from one of an old client that I used to work with because she moved to another state, and she says that I've been looking for a therapist, looking for a client, looking for a coach, looking for someone that can help me, continue what you started, because she moved, before we actually finished. She's like, and since I couldn't find anyone, I used all the material that you gave me and just started digging in and reading and really working it and I'm like, I need homework. I need something that's going to sustain me. And so she says she went to someone and talked for 2 hours, and the person was just like, okay, well, all right, see. And she's like, I need a little bit more than that. I need someone that's going to actually push me and not just let me get away with stuff, because I'm that coach that won't let you get away with, oh, this is all it is for me. No, there's more to it than that. And so yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like you really have to take that time to dig in and learn, and if you really want to grow, because so many people get stuck and they feel like there's no hope for them.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, that's why we do what we do. No one's
Yeah.
stuck, and that fixed. I'm fixed. This is just how it is. This is just how I've always been. Is a story. You want to have like an alarm bell go off when you hear that story in your head. That fixed mindset, and like it's instantly false. I like to call it lazy brain. It's like you're just giving up. You're not trying there. Come on. And the truth is, every problem has a solution, and the solution is usually not some big sweeping like I was this and then I'm that. It's specific learnable steps and skills. And if you learn those things, it comes together to produce this dramatic result.
Yeah, I really like that. And, for a person who's really wanting to get their business and they're said, okay, I have confidence, but I'm stuck a little bit. I'm not really sure where to get started. What would be the first thing you would tell them to do when it comes to that? Like they have like no clue where to even begin to take the step when it comes to business, but they know that they have it in them.
Yeah. You mean starting a business?
Starting or restarting, like say, or because I actually personally deal with clients who were successful in one part in their life and they did like a pivotal shift, and they like realized either I want to restart my business, be from a different standpoint, or I want to start a business, and they're just really unsure where to get started and how to even get back on track. Because whenever we experience something in our life that shakes us up a little bit, we end up like our confidence end up getting a little messed up.
Yeah. So I love this question. And I would say that what we often do, okay, so everyone must know about the safety police. This is one of my missions. Like the world has to know about this. The safety police is as that, I said we have these two parts, this part that wants to do things and try things, and the part that wants to stay safe. That part that wants to stay safe, I call the safety police. And it will say and do, it's like a squad. It's got all these different characters, and they'll say and do different things. Like for example, one character in your safety police might say, don't take that risk. You're going to die. You're going to lose all your money. You're going to lose your house. It's going to be awful, out on the street. And, so it's trying to freak you out. And then you're like, oh man, that sounds awful. I better not do that. Another safety police voice might say, wow, there's so many things. I don't even know. Is it this? or I could do that, or I could do that. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed. There's just so many things. We should probably just sit on this for another 6 to 12 months until it becomes more clear, you know? And that voice is not, it's like, it's got the illusion of action. Like, yeah, we're going to do it later, you know? And that one is really tricky. Another really tricky one will say something like, you know, you just got to be a little more reasonable here. This is an unrealistic idea. It's a crazy idea. You just got to be more reasonable. And you might say, well, maybe that's wise thinking, that I'm not going on a crazy goose chase, but actually look at what reasonable, if reasonable is steering you into like a very safe path that you've done before, then that's not reasonable. That's safety police. So I'm just trying to highlight, I could go on, but I want everyone to be aware of these things. So when someone's like, I don't even know where to start, whatever, that's probably a safety police voice. And what we, and you, yes, you do need to figure things out and make decisions. But what we often do, is it Pareto's principle? What was the one where it's like the time it takes to complete a project expands to fill the time we give it?
Is that Pareto's principle? Is that part of his, or I can't
Maybe it's
remember.
someone else's, but it's like,
Yeah.
if you have like 3 weeks to do that report, it takes you 3 weeks to do the report. If someone's like, I need a report by Friday, you got 2 days, you're like, I got the report done on Friday. Like somehow it just may happen, right? So it's the same thing with our decisions in business and in life. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make this decision over an indeterminate amount of time till I feel more secure inside, more certainty inside. It's like that certainty is probably not just gonna come because days on the calendar have passed. Like, so what we need to do is we need to say, okay, we need to like focus and like guide ourselves to make a decision. Say, okay, what are the 3 options I'm considering? Or let me sit down and brainstorm. What are the 9 options I'm considering? Okay, great. Let's sit with that. Do they come together? Can I get rid of those? Like, what are the main choices I really have here? Great. But I don't know. Okay, let me sit with this for 3 days and come to a decision. Or what do I need? Do I need more information to come to a decision? Who am I going to talk to? You know, maybe I'm researching making a pivot. Do I want to talk to that person? Okay, when? Okay, I'm going to need to talk to so-and-so, and when? I'll talk to them next Thursday. Let me call them. And so what you're doing is you're in action it's an active decision process. And one thing that people do, it's a major mistake in business and in life, is we stand at the fork in the road and we say, should I go that way or that way or that way? I don't know. I really don't know which path leads to where I want. And I don't know if there's like bears down one of those paths. Okay, that way looks pretty good because of this, and that. But that way looks pretty good. And we're just sitting in one spot analyzing as the weeks, months, and years go by. And I've seen this with clients all the time. Like, should I start my own private practice, or should I do work for this hospital, or do this thing? And it's like, how long have you been in that decision process? They call it a decision process, but it is not deciding at all. Decisions happen in a moment. It's like, he's like, oh, about a year or two. A year or two, that's a big range. But anyway, it's like, okay, so here's what we need to do. And within 3 months, even less, 2 months of starting to work together, he had already decided on a path, committed, followed that path for a while, and then decided that's not the path for me, and then shifted to another path and was moving down that path rapidly in 2 months. I mean, that's like an incredible, and so sometimes people are like, what if it's the wrong path? Well, you learn that pretty quickly. And now you can say, you know what? I don't want to do that. And now I'm going to go do this. And that's how I'd say we can get into rapid action and rapid progress in a way that we're not stalled out.
Yeah. And I love that, because basically if you're already taking action, it's easy to take an action another way instead of just stopping. So if I go down a path,
momentum.
Yes, it's kind of like debt snowball, right? You pay off a small bill and you're like, hey, I could pay off the bill. Well, let me keep going and pay off this one. And next thing you know, you're paying your debt off a lot quicker than you sitting there going, should we pay off the high interest or the low interest or the small bill, or I don't know. Well, we won't pay no bills.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's a human nature. The safety police is not unique to one person who's got a confidence issue. It is universal. And it's really just our relationship. How much are we unaware of it and just believing everything the safety police says? And how much are we willing to challenge it, step into the unknown, take the risk, and see what happens in order to create the life that we want?
Yeah, and I often talk about the tape recorder, the negative thoughts, the things that's going in a mind. What has been your experience with that, where people are taking thoughts and words and different things that people have told them over the years, like, why did you start this business? Like you were talking about the safety police, but do you find that some of those safety police are actually family members and friends that they have had in their past?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. That's like maybe the record keeper of the safety police, or the what other people, the peanut gallery, what other people would say. And it could be past or present in your life, naysayers, or imagined future naysayers. It all comes together to make one big naysayer in your head. And then that naysayer uses credibility by saying, well, this is not just my opinion, this is what your dad said too. And he was right, And so it's going to use whatever it can to get you. And I'm amazed. I made like a study, and it's a game, to be like delightfully curious about how you can catch your safety police. And what I'm so grateful for is, at this point in the game, when I identify its safety police, I'm instantly like, oh, phew. Well, if that's the case, I know what to do here. So just recently, this was coming up for me. I am traveling more this year, and particularly these next few months, than I have ever since my kids were born. They're 4 and 6 years old. And I traveled some in the first year of my son's life, but in the last 4 years, 3-4 years, I've been really like growing my business as much as I can, as stationary as I can. So not going to that many events, connecting with people from afar. And it's worked to a point, but it's worked on like, I'm just going to gut it out and create as much as I can, direct to consumer, direct to customer, direct to client. But the next level is more exposure, more connecting, more teamwork with people, like really getting out into the world in a way, and expanding and growing myself too. And so I made this decision to join a mastermind program and really invest in myself, but it all involves a lot more travel. So anyway, set up a lot of the trips. I have like 3 trips over the next month, right? So a lot of time away. And as it's getting closer, I'm feeling this growing sense of like guilt, I'm leaving my kids, I'm leaving my wife. We got 2 dogs over the summer, and now I'm leaving her with those dogs too. Those dogs were my idea, bad dad, bad husband, bad dog owner, and I'm like challenging it, I'm like, hey, I'm actually an extremely present husband and father. This growth is not just for me, but it's for this business. This growth will lead to more contribution to my clients, to my mission, to my family. I'm trying to challenge that voice of guilt, and it's just not landing. That feeling of guilt. I was sitting with that feeling of guilt as it was coming up for me. And I realized that my safety police does not want me to do new things, try new things, change, take risks. So it doesn't want me to travel more, doesn't want me to, join in a mastermind, doesn't want me to network with people, doesn't want me to put myself out there in a higher way, doesn't want me to do what it takes to learn everything I am about scaling a business and do that. And so it's basically going to say, don't join the mastermind, don't travel, don't do all that. Now, unfortunately, for the safety police, I'm already committed to all that. So our safety police does not give up after the first attempt. It just retreats and tries to get it again. So I was listening to that voice of guilt, and I was like, wait a minute. This voice is trying to tell me that I'm bad. If I believed this voice, but I still went to one of these events coming up, what effect would that have on me? And I realized, well, I'd get to the event, but instead of being like, hey, how's it going? I'm Aziz. I'm excited about this mission. Who are you? Like, let's figure this out. Or I'm going to study all this material and go and apply it in my business. Instead of doing that, I'm going to be there being like, oh, I just feel so bad. I'm such a bad person. I'm so guilty. And it's going to try to dampen me from doing the very things that I'm there to do. So it couldn't stop me from taking the big risk of joining, but then it's going to, try to stop me from taking those small risks. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, yes. And I just felt totally free. I was like, oh, it's the safety police. Oh, I know you. Oh, all right, buddy, I got you. We're safe. We're okay. And let's go do this. I'm not going to dampen myself in any way. So if we can identify it, we can free ourselves from it. And this all goes back to the very beginning of our conversation, though. You don't have that power to free yourself from it unless you are building the habit of daily action of courage. To test it, to challenge it again and again and again and again. And if you're doing that, though, then you're liberated, and then there's no stopping you.
Yeah, I love that, the safety police. And I have a thing that I teach my clients to name the little people that's coming up for them so that it becomes like a conversation.
Yeah.
Like one of my clients, I always tell her, tell Bertha to have a seat because she's in a conversation that don't belong. Like that little girl over there needs to stay in her place. And so, and if she's come back and said, she'll start like naming it. She's like, I was sitting there and all of a sudden Bertha started showing up and I had to tell Bertha, you need to sit down. And she was able to become more confident, right? And so I'm like, that's a good name that you named her, and tell Bertha to have a seat. And so it's so huge and important for us to do that. Safety police, naming the person or the thing or the voice that's keeping you stuck and keep reminding you or saying to you, you're not good enough or you're never going to get things accomplished. So I really like that.
I love that. I think naming it is so key, or naming multiple, parts or
Yeah.
voices. In the next book I have coming out, it's coming out in February 25th. It's called On My Own Side, and it's all about that voice that attacks us, that criticizes us, which actually is a character in your safety police. But that's the biggest one that people have, that naysaying, self-critical, who are you? Who do you think you are? All the old tapes from family that make us really at odds with ourselves, not on our own sides, not treating ourselves like someone that we love, not treating ourselves with respect. And that book is about returning us to sanity, to where we are on our own side. But one of the key things in there is to name that critic and to be able to develop an ongoing relationship. Like, oh, there you are again. I know you. I know what you say. I know the kinds of things that you do. And that isn't that because I know you, you never speak up and I've like cut you out and you're gone forever. That's a fantasy. Like, no, the safety police, that critic is going to be there. It's just, how do we learn how to work with that voice and tame it and calm it and have it not be the one driving the bus, but you, or, the captain of your ship, whatever metaphor you want to use. You're the one who's in charge, and that one is there. And you can put it aside, or you can have your arm around him, whatever you want, but you're driving. That's the key thing.
Exactly. It kind of reminds me of a person who grew up in a home where, like, say you had a father or a mother who was alcoholic. You learn how to maneuver through that. Like, okay, dad's drunk, so I know that I can do this. I had one person in particular. She told me, she's like, she had a twin. She's like, my sister and I, when my dad would come home drunk, we knew we can get away with anything we wanted and manipulate. So we learned how to work around his personality. When he was happy, we do this. When he wasn't, we do this. So whenever he came up, we knew what to expect. So we knew how to deal with it. So it no longer caused us any issues. And it's kind of like the same thing where your critic is coming up, the safety police, I see you. So I know what to do with you when you're showing up, kind of thing. Doesn't have to be as drastic as that, but pretty much you know how to deal with things that are not so comfortable for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been so great, Dr. Aziz, having you here. Can you tell us how to get in touch with you and what do you have coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best place to just be aware of anything that I'm up to is go to draziz.com, draziz.com. And that'll take you to my main website where I have updates about my live events that I do. A lot of free resources. I have an ebook people can get called 5 Steps to Unleash Your Inner Confidence. You can find out about my YouTube channel and my podcast called Shrink for the Shy Guy. There's just a ton of resources because I really believe in this mission that we can all learn confidence. And so I want everyone to start learning confidence now as much as possible to unlock all these things. And then, of course, if people want to go further, we have the live events, we have coaching. We have a live event coming up at the end of January called Maximize Your Money and Career Confidence, which is all really focused about how do we bring this confidence into our work, into believing in ourselves, into eliminating imposter syndrome, so we know that we have something of value to offer in the world and we don't hold that back. And, being more confident with stepping into the unknown, more confident with money, all that stuff. So I'm excited about that event and more. So that's the best place to start, though.
Yeah, and you have an academy. Can you tell us more about your academy? What all do you have there?
Yeah. So we have a program called Confidence University, and this is if confidence is a master skill, this is the place to learn. This is the university. This is the place that you don't learn in any school what we all really need to learn, which actually leads to more success. And so Confidence University is an immersive course where you learn and you do. It's not passive learning. You learn and you do. And as a result, you get the results. And so people come into that and they go through the confidence foundation, which helps them get right with themselves, get aware of these voices in their head, to be able to take action, to be able to take bold action, to be able to get on their own sides, and to be able to become rejection proof. And then from there, you're able to choose different tracks or courses that are most relevant for you. So we have a social mastery track, how to talk to anybody, be charming, be comfortable for networking or for your personal life, for friendships. We have a new course that's coming out in April, I would say, of 2020, called Double Your Confidence, Double Your Business, which is all about bringing that specifically to business. We have one about career. We have one about dating. So really, if you want confidence in just one area, then you'll get a ton. But most people could use it. We realize, wow, I can have more confidence in all these areas. And so it's a phenomenal place to just really immerse and learn.
Yeah, that is great. And just like you said, I mean, you definitely having confidence in every part of your life only actually helps you grow and be a better person. And I always say, even people are always watching you anyway. So when they see that you're confident in the way that you carry yourself, they're like, I want more of that. And so it helps them become a study of, of confidence, or asking you, hey, like when we first met, you said, have you always been confident? Because you come off very confident. And I was like, not really, but I've learned to be confident because of the fact that I had no choice. I chose, I should say, to be confident for my daughter, to make sure that she saw someone that stood up for herself and didn't, lay down and let people walk all over her. And now as an adult, she's a very confident young lady that when I look at her, I'm like, man, I wish when I was young, I was that confident. But I realized that I taught her something that she can carry on for the rest of her life. So
yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And with multiple areas, it's like, really, if we're like, oh no, I'm really confident at work, but I'm not confident in my relationship or romantic side of my life. Are you really, like, at work? If you just leave your house and you're like, oh, I'm always fighting with my partner and we never communicate, she never listens to me and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to work. Are you really 100% A game confident at work? I don't believe it. I believe you're like, ugh, I got something and my energy is focused on that. And I can put it out of my mind, but I'm not like thriving. And so I think that what happens is, as we grow in one area, we're going to realize, like, wait, I want to grow in this other area. I want to grow in this other area because I'm not going to, my standard is raised for what I want out of life. And so I believe that as we grow, we don't tolerate like an area of our life just sucking anymore, because we're like, wait a minute, if I could change over here, I could change over there. And that's really the whole purpose behind Confidence University, is you can change in any of these areas, and you can, and confidence is the master skill to get you there.
Yeah. And then actually being in your university, like you said, not only do they double their confidence, but they also double their business, which in turn will double their money as well. So this is great stuff. Well, I truly appreciate you being here with me today. Do you have any last words for our listeners?
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much. I just really love this conversation. And I would say, you've heard a lot about action. We've talked about action as much as we can. And if this were one of my live events, what we would do now is we'd end this segment with everyone literally going and taking action, either in the room or outside of the room. We often have people leave the room to do stuff in the world. And so I would say, do that now. Like, what's an action? Even if it's late at night, send an email. Send a text, reach out to that person you've been avoiding. What's the thing you've been avoiding? What's the thing that's like, a little uncomfortable? Just go into it. And then not just like, okay, I'm gonna do this one thing because I just finished this interview, but can you commit to 30 days? Can you do one thing a day that makes you uncomfortable? It doesn't have to be crazy, just a little bit uncomfortable. And if you're ever struggling for a day, like, I have no idea what to do, here's the thing. Finish your shower with 10 seconds of as cold as it can go. That'll get you some discomfort right there. And if next stage would be just an all cold 1 or 2 minute shower, which is what I'm a big fan of. I do that every day, primarily for discomfort tolerance. And so find something every day. And that would be the one parting word, because that's what's going to translate all these ideas and theory and, yeah, it's possible, I believe, into reality for you, is the action.
And that is good. And to add to that, when it comes to cold showers, I would also tell people, when they're super anxious and their insides are just overwhelmed, you can't be hot and cold at the same time. So you take a cold shower, it totally changes your system as well, your nervous system, and you'll find yourself coming from a totally different standpoint.
It's a beautiful reset. Yeah, absolutely.
It really does. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And this has truly been amazing. So thank you, listeners, for being part of Decide to Move's podcast and having an amazing guest, Dr. Aziz. And he gave you all his information, but you can look below and find it as well. And continue to follow both of us, because we would love to have you listening and becoming more confident in every part of your life. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you're ready to grow personally and professionally in order to take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free clarity call at bit.ly/call with Monica. That's bit.ly/call with Monica, or visit us at decidetomovepodcast.com for all links mentioned today and listen to previous episodes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and rate us on iTunes or your favorite listening platform.